Hi everyone, welcome to Hitwise's digital marketing webinar series. In part one of our series, we covered the power of deeper URLs. For part two of our series, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into how we can segment and target online buyers from online browsers. But before we get into that, just a little bit of housekeeping. Our presentation today will roughly be about 25 minutes, which will then be followed by a quick Q&A. So if you've got any questions during the presentation portion, please send that through our chat. And if we're unable to answer your questions during the webinar, an account manager will get back to you as soon as possible. If you don't already know us, we're a specialist in online consumer intelligence. Our data is derived from one of the largest consumer panels of over 3 million people in the UK, which is then aggregated and anonymized to represent the online population. Due to our data depth and our reporting frequency, we're able to provide our clients with insights about their market, about their competitors and consumers at speed and at accuracy. My name is Lisa Liu. I'm the head of Global Insights at Hitwise. I've been with the business for almost 2 years now. I'll be presenting today with my colleague Charlotte.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte and I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Hitwise. So just to talk you through what we'll be covering today, firstly we'll be looking at how to rethink that market share, then we'll move on to how to pinpoint buyers, and then going on to buyer analytics in action, and then we'll give you a summary right at the end. So before we get into that, let's set the scene about how we are rethinking online measurement. Why do we even need to segment online buyers if we have online visitors? As we saw in our first webinar, our lives are increasingly on our mobiles, tablets, and desktops for a variety of purposes. We are logging on more often and also spending more time online than ever. This includes a 6% increase in visits to retail shopping sites, to over an 8% increase in average time spent on finance and travel sites. So we're not only browsing and researching, we are also making more transactions online too. According to Deloitte, the online channel now accounts for almost 20% of all retail sales. This has grown over 10 times faster than in-store sales in 2018. This is also happening beyond retail as well. For instance, travel is arguably one of the first industries that has led in terms of that digital transformation. Over 50% of bookings are online, and this is projected to grow even further by 10% next year.
So those are just some general industry stats, but what we've seen at Hitwise, being around for over 20 years, is an evolution in how we think about and how we define online market share. So over the years, the conversation has shifted from tracking hits, visits, and even page views to increasingly measuring transactions, both on an overall site level, category, right down to product level, and also the conversation has shifted around conversions, i.e. understanding the quality of the visitors and the quality of visits that are coming to your site. So we still argue that all of these three metrics are critical to understanding our clients' online presence and their online performance. But the latter two, they're really speaking about the quality and effectiveness of our clients' traffic and their audience. So I just wanted to walk through a really simple example of why all three metrics are needed. On this chart, we're looking at Amazon's growth in terms of page views among key categories from February to May this year. Over this 4-month period, Amazon has seen a rise in page views for a number of their categories, with a couple of call-outs here: sports and leisure and clothing and accessories. Categories that they're lesser known for have seen a rapid rise over 2018, growing by over 50% over this 4-month period. Additionally, their more traditional categories like electronics and mobile has also grown at 10%. But in order to put this data into perspective, we'd need to compare not only page views, but also look at their purchases and conversions. So let's see for one of those examples for a top growing category, clothing and accessories, against another retail leader, Debenhams. So comparing those same periods, the February to May period, for the clothing and accessories category, Amazon has by far the largest volume and growth in terms of page views. In this chart, we can see that over that 4-month period, page views has risen by 50% compared to the 13% rise for Debenhams. But when it comes to actual transactions for this category, Debenhams in fact actually wins out and also saw an equal rise of 38% over these 4 months.
So that example is comparing page views to purchases. Additionally, when we look at conversions versus purchases, it sheds another layer of insight. Let's look at another category where Amazon dominates, the electronics and mobile category. We're comparing this to Argos now. So Amazon again has the biggest volume in terms of total purchases, 4.25 million in May, but Argos has significantly higher conversion rate on this like-for-like category at 8.7% compared to Amazon's 4.8%.
So essentially, these are really quick examples to show the power and importance of using all three metrics when measuring and putting your online performance into perspective. Amazon, as we saw in those 3 slides, they're rapidly rising in online activity, i.e. through page views, but they aren't necessarily winning out when we're looking and comparing that against total purchases and conversions for individual categories. So as a business though, we'd want to do more than just measuring. How can we actually influence these figures? So how can we grow our overall number of purchases? And also how can we increase our online conversion rates? So this brings us on to our next point around pinpointing buyers. So at Hitwise, how we model audiences in order to segment our buyers versus our browsers. So for us, it really comes down to understanding the online behaviors of these differing segments in order to grow your online sales performance. So a quick theory 101. In our first webinar, we looked at a very easy example of how Hitwise extracts meaning from the URL. We're able to pinpoint a number of different insights, such as product names, search results, right down to purchase confirmation. Through our platform audience view, we're able to model out specific segments based on online events over a defined period of time. So for instance, a visitor simply is a segment that has visited a site, for instance, like amazon.co.uk. A buyer, through deeper URLs, we're able to model segments of events such as ones that have made a purchase confirmation of a particular product. And a browser, again through deeper URLs, are segments of people that have visited a site or a product page but didn't receive a purchase confirmation.
So who would find this information useful? These audience insights have direct implications for a number of teams. So for example, if we take search marketing, by understanding how your buyers search for relevant products and services and how they differ to your general browser, you'll be able to tailor your keywords and content. If we take affiliates, by understanding your buyer's purchase journey and identifying sites that they use to research and consider, you'll be able to strategically select partners that drive quality over quantity to your site. And lastly, for media, by understanding where your buyers spend their time online, you'll be able to strategically place media and display where it's most impactful to your buyers. So let's take some of those examples and put them into action. So firstly, how can I differentiate my buyers and understand what makes them different to the general visitor? Let's walk through an example of fast fashion retailer brand Zara. So the retail industry is gearing up for their fast approaching peak season at the end of this year. To prepare, a good starting point is reviewing your performance from last year. So let's see how Zara did from October to December 2017. So Zara received over 2 million visitors to their site over the 3-month period, clocking over 23 million visits. They spent on average over 7 minutes on the site and viewed 12 pages per visit. Then out of these visitors, Zara had over 200,000 buyers make an online purchase, i.e. 11% of their visitors. It's no surprise that these buyers were a lot more engaged. They visited 19 times on average over that same 3 months and spent almost 11 minutes and viewed 22 pages on average per visit.
So that's great for sizing up the audience over that 3-month period. But when did they actually browse and when did they actually buy over that peak period from October to December? So that's what we've done, modeled that out here. As expected, our visitors and our buyers at Zara peak over 2 key periods: Black Friday, which ends on November the 25th, and also Boxing Day, so the last week of the year. But when we look at the proportion of visitors that were actually buyers, some other interesting trends appear. We can see that 2 other periods also have a high density of buyers. So these include the Halloween period, which ended on the 28th of October last year, as well as the Christmas preparation last minute window, ending on the 16th of December. Additionally, if I was Zara, I'd also want to know why my buyers were unique and how they differed from my visitors. So let's look at the digital behaviors to understand this. Firstly, they were searching for different products. Our visitors, in terms of searches going into Zara, these were more general. For instance, a visitor, they were 2.8 times more likely to search for Zara bags than our Zara buyer, whereas our Zara buyer, they had more precise products in mind, more of which were less branded. For instance, searching for velvet purses and leather boots at over 5 times more likely than my standard Zara visitor. These 2 segments, they also had different fashion interests. Visitors, for instance, they were more likely to look at sites like Dorothy Perkins and Primark, whereas my Zara buyer, they were interested in a different set of fashion websites, from luxury sites like Matches Fashion and Net-a-Porter to my direct competitors like Mango and Other Stories. So it's no surprise that they looked at different fashion sites. They also purchased on different fashion sites. Zara visitors, they were more likely to buy on Boohoo, whereas my Zara buyer, they were more likely to buy on my competitor sites like H&M and ASOS. So why would I find this information useful? So if I was Zara and I was planning for my retail peak season, I could use these insights in several ways. I'd want to make sure that my marketing campaigns and my promotions are aligned to when my buyers are actually online and when they're ready to buy. And prior to that, I additionally would want to know what products are they specifically interested in, and ensure that my marketing campaigns and tactics are aligned to that. So a quick win, for instance, through this insights, I could tailor my paid search and match these to keywords such as velvet purses or leather boots to make sure that I'm getting that traffic over my competition. That Zara example, it lightly touches upon digital behaviors such as over-index searches by buyers versus visitors, which then brings me on to my next point on how can I actually leverage and extract more meaning from behavioral data in order to acquire more buyers or acquire more customers. So to illustrate this, let's switch up industries and look at the world of home insurance. And I assure you we'll be able to find some pretty interesting insights through search and visit behavior for home insurance.
So to illustrate this, we'll be looking at the insurer Admiral. So looking at that conversion funnel, in the past 12 weeks, visitors to Admiral account for about 1.46 million site visitors. That's about 2.9% of the online population. Then when we look at this in terms of people visiting that home insurance page, they received about 61,000 page visitors. So that's about 4.2% of Admiral's audience. Then we can break this down further and look at the people that actually purchase home insurance. And that accounted for about 33,000 who went on to make that purchase. So 2.3% of Admiral's total audience. So let's say I'm Admiral and I want to grow my home insurance sales. Through my conversion funnel, I can see that once a visitor is interested in a product, i.e. home insurance page, they have a high propensity to convert. So how did my buyers come to discover my product? Let's firstly look at how visitors and buyers come to my site. Firstly, when we look at visitors, we can see that they mostly come via search and price comparison sites to get to my site. But my home insurance buyers, they're slightly different. Although search is still a key channel, they rely a lot more on price comparison sites and affiliates. So this is about 90% more than my general visitor. So which price comparison sites are they using? Compared to my general visitor, my home insurance buyer is twice as likely to reach my site from sites like Compare the Market, Money Supermarket, and Go Compare. Although at a smaller share, buyers use USwitch to click on Admiral's site over 200% more than general visitors. Compared to visitors, my buyers are using Confused.com less. So a quick action around this, I would then prioritise these price comparison sites and make sure my home insurance products are ranked highly. This could be via content or sponsored ads, for example.
And even though we saw that search drove less traffic from my buyers, search is still a critical source of insight when it comes to understanding my buyers' needs and their interests. So like other people in the market for home insurance, my buyers, they're looking for general terms, for instance, like quotes, offers, cost, and compare. But we can get some more interesting insights when we look at that long tail of searches. So let's take a look. Specifically, when it comes to descriptive terms, my buyers, they're interested in guides and also looking for explanations on, for instance, home insurance that's old for new. And finally, I'd also want to know what other competitors are in their consideration set. I can see that my buyers, they're looking at price comparison sites like Compare the Market, Home Insurance, searching for those specifically. And they're also searching specifically for my competitors, such as Direct Line, Santander, and Sainsbury's. Again, it's all about actionability. I could use these search insights in several ways. So with the descriptive terms, I can feed these into my content, for instance, featuring a guide on how to buy home insurance. And also by knowing my competitor set, I can also bid on these terms to drive my buyers back to my site. And finally, a third digital behavioral aspect. I'd also want to know where my buyers spend their time online, not just when it's related to financial sites. And this information could help inform my display and also my partnership strategy. So in the above chart, we're showing two different metrics here. We're looking at audience reach as well as index. So in other words, how my buyers are more likely to visit these sites compared to the general online population. So a couple of call outs here. When it comes to tech sites, they're over 2 times more likely, media sites, they're over 2 times more likely to visit TechAdvisor, but they're also 3 times more likely to visit other media magazines such as Women's Health and Marie Claire. Additionally, when it comes to retail sites, I'd also want to know what retailers they're considering to upgrade their homes. So my buyers, they're 2.3 times more likely to visit Homebase, and they're also 4 times more likely to visit Appliances Direct. And again, like with what Charlotte had shown and what myself had shown, these insights have direct implications. For instance, I could tailor my whitelist to make sure that my display ads are featured on these sites that draw a higher mix of buyers. By also seeing what retailers my buyers are using and considering, I could also potentially build a brand or product partnership. For instance, offering home insurance with home renovation.
So to summarise, with deeper digital behaviours into my buyers, such as those search terms and how they get to my site and where else do they go, I can paint a more complete picture of why my buyers purchase from me in order to acquire more customers. In our third example, I also want to show how these digital behaviours can be utilised to turn browsers, i.e. those people who consider but don't purchase, into those buyers. So let's switch gear again and look at this for the travel industry, specifically for Airbnb. So, of course, summer has just passed. The travel industry is also gearing up, like retail, for their peak period over winter. In this chart, we are looking at the proportion of their browsers versus their bookers. Total visitors has slightly dropped off over the peak summer month of July to September, but conversions have more or less remained the same each month, so that's 10.4% to 10.8%. So if I were at Airbnb, what can I do now to target my browsers and convert them into my buyers/bookers in the time for the next peak travel period? So a quick analysis I could do would be to understand where my browsers go after visiting my site, i.e. downstream from Airbnb. So when we take a look into this, we can see that the majority go to Google and other OTA sites such as booking.com, but this has declined from August to September. My browsers are also going from my site to my competition, such as Home2Go and lastminute.com. These have all grown month on month as well.
And like what we saw with the Admiral example, we can use search insights to understand a little bit deeper as to why my browsers are going to the competition. So a couple of call outs here. My browsers, they're searching for generic hotels like Manchester, Amsterdam, and Edinburgh on booking.com. On my direct competitor Home2Go, they're looking for different types of experiences like bungalows, houses with pools, and also coastal rentals. And finally, on lastminute.com, my browsers, they were looking for cheap hotels and package deals. So just like buyers, I can target these keywords that my browsers are looking for on competitor sites, such as through content, paid search, or promotions on these specific locations. So just to quickly summarize, as our transactions are becoming more and more online measurement has evolved, and we've seen that evolution at Hitwise, from the conversation shifting from total page views, total visits, through to measuring conversions and also transaction share. But one thing to note was that these three key metrics are all critical to understanding your online performance, as what we saw with the Amazon example.
We also want to delve deeper than online visitors. So through audience segmentation, we can pinpoint and differentiate your buyers versus your browsers. And we can also do that for competitors' buyers and browsers as well.
And thirdly, what we had shown with digital behaviors, you'd want to also understand what differentiates your buyers from your visitors and from your browsers. So this can include how they searched and discovered your products, what affiliates and partner sites they're using to research and consider, and also what other sites they spend their time on, as what we saw with the Zara and Admiral examples.
So using these insights, what we should be doing is tailoring our search, display, content, and affiliate strategy to gain more of those buyers, like what we saw with Admiral example, and also convert those browsers into buyers, such as we were seeing with Airbnb.
And finally, our last takeaway is the best time to prepare for that is now. And you might have heard that quite a number of times. But to prepare for that now, identify who your browsers and your potential buyers are in the lead up to your peak period. So this could be referring to retail, travel, or to finance as well. So that essentially concludes our presentation portion of our webinar. So we'll now move on to Q&A. So we've got some great questions here. So for our first question, can you identify individual buyers? Charlotte?
So I'll take this one. No, we can't identify those individual buyers. That's just purely based off of our methodology. Because we work off a panel, we're not able to seclude individual buyers. So how we do this is we take that panel and we aggregate that online behavior. So we'll just see it as a collective rather than individual.
Cool. And then second question, are your buyer points readily available in audience view? So do you want to answer that one again?
Yeah, so they won't be readily available in audience view, but this is something that you can contact your account manager about setting up after this webinar is over.
Oh, another good question. When you mention conversions, is it visits or visitors? So in our first example for Amazon, we were looking at conversions on visits. But I think it's some discussions that we're having internally. I think actually looking at conversions on visits and visitors are equally important. So through audience view, we can actually define both. So you're looking at conversions on visits that led to a purchase, which was the Amazon data that we had shown by category. You'd also want to look at the quality of your visitors. So looking at the number of visitors that had led to a buyer. So there are two different metrics that we can calculate there. Okay, so another question. How do you guys know when a conversion has occurred? Are you looking at confirmation page URLs or something else? So I can take this question. So yes, there's different ways that we define a conversion, and we've got a dedicated data engineering and conversion team who analyze and decipher that. So most of the times it's based off of a thank you page that we're able to track in the URL. But an additional thing that we can do is also split out that purchase journey. And we've done this quite a number of times for our clients as well. For instance, the ratio or the percentage of people that have hit a basket page, the percentage of people who've hit out a checkout page, and also the percentage of visits or people who have also conducted a final purchase as well. So different ways to slice and dice that type of information. And then finally, last question. These insights are great for retail. I'm in news and media. How would this be relevant to me? So that's a really, really great question. Essentially, what we've shown in this webinar is different ways to segment and to pinpoint different types of people that show higher intent. So this could mean different things for different industries. So for instance, retail and travel, that could be a booking, that could be a purchase, but also for news and media, there's different ways for defining higher intent readers. And we've done that also for a number of our clients. So firstly, like one example would be, for instance, if you're a subscription-based business, identifying, so segmenting people who are subscribers, i.e. through digital touchpoints. Another way that we can also segment high intent readers is by looking at frequency. So a type of custom project that we offer, looking at people who return to your site or consume more of your news on your site than a lower frequency audience as well. So that wraps up our time here. Thank you very much for listening to our webinar. And also, if you've got any further questions, please feel free to send that to your account manager after today's session. Another thing, we'll be sending the recording and slides as well over the next day too. So you'll have a copy of our insights as well. So that wraps it up. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Bye.